Okay, we want to solve this nonlinear inequality. Notice that it's already factored for us. That makes it a lot easier. Okay, we can use the solutions to the equality to help us. Okay, so imagine that this was an equal sign. We would have 7x, I'm sorry, x plus 7, x plus 3, x minus 6 equals 0. Okay, what are the solutions to this equality? X equals -7, -3, and 6. Okay, set each one equal to 0 and then solve. All right, so let's look at a number line where we have 0 and then 1, 2, 3, -3 right here, 4, 5, 6, 7, -7, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're going to use these solutions to break up our number line into pieces. So let's say we have this as one boundary, this is another boundary, and this is another boundary. So we have 4 pieces, okay, on our number line. We're going to pick a point in each piece and plug it back into the original equation to see whether or not we have a solution. So for example, let's go ahead and plug in, shall we say we're going to plug in maybe -10 as one of our choices. We can plug in 5, -5 as one of our choices. We'll plug in 0, it looks like an easy choice, and then maybe +10. Okay. So we want to plug in -10, -5, 0, and 10, and we'll get our values, okay? What we want to do, I'm going to go ahead and do -10, and let's do that on the calculator. Sorry, let me see if I can get over to the calculator. Okay, it's going to be a little bit messy. I think the easiest way to do this is to go ahead and type in the equation. Let me clear this one, and we're going to type in parentheses are right here, x plus 7, x plus 7, close parentheses, and parentheses, x plus 3, close parentheses, parentheses, x minus 6, okay, and we will go over to our table and type in -10, okay, that's the first one we wanted to know, -10, okay, and -10 gives us -336. So we're not so much interested in whether or not this is what the actual number is. We're interested in whether or not it's positive or negative. So if we go back to our problem, okay, here we go. Look, we're looking for things that are less than 0. So to be true, we need this to be less than 0. So when we plug that in, did we get something that was less than 0? Yeah, we sure did. Okay. For -10, we got something that was less than 0, so that was good. So let's try the rest of these and see if they're also less than 0. Okay, so we're going to put in -5. -5, is that less than 0? It's 45, so that one doesn't work out. Okay, so no, not less than 0. If we plug in 0, is that less than 0? We get negative. You can see it right here, -126, so that does work out. That is less than 0. If we plug in 10, we get 884, so that is not less than 0, so that one doesn't work out. All right, so no. Okay, let's go back. Oops. So we have this region works. Okay, I'm going to highlight the regions that work in green, this region works all the way up to this bar, and the middle region right here works, but these two regions did not work out. Okay, so that would be our solution. It says type your answer in interval notation. They use integers or fractions to express any number. So we know that we need to go from negative infinity, okay, so negative and then infinity all the way to negative 7, and then we also, we also have, so union, okay, this region right here, negative 3 to 6. Okay, good. Great. Let us go on then to number 6. Okay, number 6. This time also non-linear inequality, but we can solve it the exact same way. Before we go on to number 6, let's go back to this. Since we already have it in our calculator, I want to go ahead and show you another way. So if you type this in your calculator, okay, just like we did, then you can go to the graph. So let's graph this and see what it looks like. Okay, it might be a little hard to see, but this comes up right here, comes up, it turns, and then comes back down, comes back down, comes back down, turns, and comes back up. So if we want to know where is our graph negative, okay? So that was the question, if you remember. It had, where is it negative? Where is it less than 0? Then you can see from this picture that it's less than 0 here, 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 okay? So these are the places that it's less than 0. So it's going to be less than 0 over here, okay? And it's going to be less than 0 right here, all the way until it comes to here, and then it comes back up, and now it's positive, okay? So that can help you. You wouldn't necessarily have to do all the steps we did if you can use your graph and figure out that it's going to be less than 0 all the way from negative infinity up until this point, which is negative 7, and then in between negative 3 and 6, it's also negative, okay? So this is another way of looking at it. All right, let's go back to our Math Excel and go back to number 6. And you can actually do number 6 similarly, but just so that we can know how to do it by hand, I'm going to do this one by hand as well. First of all, we can find the zeros, okay? The way to find the zeros, just like we did last time, is to take the numerator and set it equal to 0. So if we say that x plus 3 has to be 0, then that means that x is going to be negative 3. So that's one of the points we'll use. Another thing we have to worry about is this denominator. The denominator is not allowed to be 0. So that's another point that we have to worry about. So if the denominator cannot be 0, right, because we're not allowed to divide by 0, then that means that x cannot be negative 6. So those are 2 points that we need to worry about. So when we go to our number line, we'll graph 0, 1, 2, negative 3, 4, 5, negative 6. And we'll use these points to split up our graph. So we have into regions, we have this as one of our boundaries, and this is one of our boundaries as well. And so we have 3 pieces, this piece, and this piece. So let's pick some candidate points or just sample points. We can use 0 because 0 is always a good number. We'll use negative 5, and let's use negative 10. Just trying to pick easy numbers on ourselves. Okay, so we're going to plug in negative 10, negative 5, and 0. And you can plug it in on your calculator. Let's go back to the calculator so we can practice. We have, we'll go to y equals, clear this, and we will type in with parentheses x plus 3 in the numerator, close parentheses, divided by, with parentheses, oops, forgot my divided by, with parentheses, x plus 6 in our denominator. Okay, so like I said, you can graph this and kind of hopefully get a look for where is it positive and where is it negative. And maybe it's kind of hard to see. It's going to be positive over here. It's going to be negative over here until here, and now it's positive again. Then also, this probably could answer your question without doing the work that we're doing. But let's go ahead and finish with our table. So remember, we're going to plug in negative 10. It's kind of hard to see negative 10, negative 5, and 0. So look, they're already plugged in for us. Which of these are negative and which are positive? Let's go back to the question. We're looking for things that are bigger than or equal to 0. Okay, bigger than or equal. So, bigger than or equal to. So we have that negative 10 is bigger than or equal to 0, so that's good. This one is bigger than or equal to 0. Negative 5 is not, and 0 is. Okay, so the regions that work for us for bigger than or equal to 0 are this region and this region, but not the middle. Okay, so if we want to type that in interval notation, let's come here. We would have from negative infinity all the way up to negative 6, and not including negative 6, because negative 6 is a point that x is not allowed to be. All right, and then for the next region, so union, and then from negative 3 all the way up to positive infinity. Okay, but one thing right here, we need to make sure to put a bracket because this is including, so just be careful about that. So including because of the greater than or equal to symbol. All right, let's go ahead and press enter. Okay, great. Okay, let's move on to number 7 now. Number 7, same deal, okay? Same exact deal. Let's go ahead and take care of that denominator. Remember, the denominator can't be 0, so that's going to be one of our points we have to watch out for. So let's solve this. Okay, sorry, this denominator, let me erase this real quick. This denominator cannot be 0. So let's solve for t. We have that t cannot be 1/3. Okay, so 1/3 is going to be a point that we'll watch out for. Now let's also solve this inequality for t. Okay, so let's pretend this is an equation, just like we've been doing, and solve it. What are the solutions of this equation? I'm going to solve it down here, and then I'll erase it and just move it up here. So the way we solve it is we multiply both sides by this denominator. Okay, 2 times 3t minus 1. This is a t, this is a minus 1. Okay, distribute. 5 is equal to 6t minus 2. Okay, subtract, add 2 to both sides. 7 is equal to 6t, and then divide both sides by 6. So we get that t is equal to 7 over 6. Okay, 7 over 6. All right, so now we have our points. Let's go ahead and draw our number line. Okay, so our number line looks like this. We have 0, and then let's say this is 1/3, and 7/6. Okay, we have some regions based on this. Okay, so this is one boundary, it divides our number line into regions. Let's go ahead and plug in 0, we'll plug in 1, and we're just picking things that are around this. Let's go ahead and plug in maybe 2. Okay, I'm just trying to pick numbers that if I plug them in, they will be easy to work out, okay? So we can plug these numbers in and figure out, are they less than 2? So we have 5 over 3t minus 1. Let's go back to our calculator. You don't have to, you can do it by hand. Go to y equals. There we go. Clear this. We have 5 over, parentheses, 3t, which is going to be 3x minus 1. Okay? And then go back to our table. We want to know, are these less than there we go. Okay, are these numbers less than 2? So we plug in 0 and 1 and 2. And what do we get? We plug in 0, it's negative 5. Okay, so that is less than 2. Grab a color here. Yes, less than 2. 2.5, not less than 2. 1 is, and then when we plug in 2, we get 1, and that is less than 2. Okay, so these are the regions that we're working with. Let's go back. This is what we have. So we can type in that solution. It's going to look like this from negative infinity. Sorry, here and here. So from negative infinity all the way up to 1/3, and not including 1/3 union from 7/6 all the way up to positive infinity. Great.